Good morning, boys and girls. Welcome back. Glad you're here. Last week we were talking about Daniel in the lion's den. We had finally gotten to that. Oh, they're still there. They look kind of hungry, don't they? Yeah. I should go first. Wow, Peter. Boys and girls, the lions are still here. We're still in Daniel chapter 6. So good news. We're up above. They're down below. Yeah, that's right, Peter. Wave from up here. Don't go near the edge, okay? Stay away from the edge. So the lions, the boys and girls, God had shut their mouths, so Daniel did not get hurt. But boys and girls, they're hungry. So now the next morning when Daniel's been taken out of the lion's den, they're roaring, they're hungry. Well, King Darius, after he gets Daniel out, boys and girls, what do you think he's thinking? I mean, he's pretty relieved about Daniel, but yeah, what do you think about those other people who had tricked the king? Yeah, he's not real happy with them. Not happy with them at all. Verse number 24, and the king commanded, and they brought those men which had accused Daniel, and they cast them into the den of lions, them, their children, and their wives. And the lions had the mastery of them, and brake all their bones in pieces, or ever they came to the bottom of the den. So boys and girls, those lions were hungry. So the King Darius commands that those rulers get thrown in, their children get thrown in, their wives get thrown in. Boys and girls, our sin affects more than just us. He commands that they all be thrown in. And the lions were so hungry that before they could even hit the bottom of the pit, they had already crushed them. They had already broken all of their bones. They were that hungry, and yet Daniel had survived the whole night before because of God's power. So the king decides to write a new decree. Okay, he has to get rid of that other one. Verse 25, then King Darius wrote unto all people, nations, and languages that dwell in all the earth, peace be multiplied unto you. I make a decree that in every dominion of my kingdom men tremble and fear before the God of Daniel, for he is the living God and steadfast forever. And his kingdom, that which shall not be destroyed, and his dominion shall be even unto the end. He delivereth and rescueth, and he worketh signs and wonders in heaven and in earth. Who hath delivered Daniel from the power of the lions? Boys and girls, he wrote a new decree, and he gives credit to God, and he says everybody needs to worship God. God is the living God. The God that Daniel serves was able to protect Daniel. He says this is the God that you need to serve. Verse 28 says, so this Daniel prospered in the reign of Darius and in the reign of Cyrus the Persian. So we have Darius and then we have Cyrus. And Daniel prospers. Again, Daniel's doing what's right. He had to make hard decisions, boys and girls. He had to stand up for what's right, even when it was difficult, and yet he still prospered. Boys and girls, we've studied through the book of Daniel. This just gets us through chapter 6. 7 and beyond, he has some dreams and some different things, prophecy related, that we're not going to get into. But in this 6-week study, 7 weeks, because we spent 2 weeks in chapter 6. 7 weeks that we've been studying the life of Daniel, boys and girls, we could see that God judges sin. Think about what happened to Nebuchadnezzar. The fact that he had to live outside for 7 years because of his pride and just being puffed up. Boys and girls, we saw that God judged those rulers for their jealousy. They were jealous of Daniel. And so God judges them, and they end up in the lion's den with those very hungry lions. We saw that Belshazzar, when he had used things that were supposed to be worshipped for God, the kingdom was taken from him and he was killed that night. Boys and girls, God judges sin. Yes, very much so, and that should help us to do what's right. But boys and girls, then when we look at the life of Daniel, what a loving and caring God who takes care of us. Boys and girls, he's not just up there watching for you to mess up to judge you. Boys and girls, he's gracious, he's patient. We saw in the life of Nebuchadnezzar the fact that he was made a beast for 7 years, but he was given the opportunity to repent. and God was patient with Nebuchadnezzar. Boys and girls, our sin affects more than just us. Belshazzar has those items brought in and the whole kingdom is taken from him. That affected all of the people, boys and girls. The different choices that the rulers made, being thrown into the lion's den with their wives and their children. Our sin affects more than just us. But boys and girls, over and over and over, we see that Daniel was faithful to God. And because of Daniel's faithfulness to God, God took care of him. God takes care of his children. Daniel didn't live in ideal situations. He was in a foreign land. He wasn't even in his own country with his own family. Yet Daniel still served God. A God who took care of him under Nebuchadnezzar, a God who took care of him under Belshazzar, a God who took care of him under Darius, a God who took care of him under Cyrus. Boys and girls, under several different kings, God still took care of Daniel. His circumstances changed. People around him changed, but God was always faithful.